Smile. And we are live. Hello. Sorry, friends. We are a little bit late. It is truly a Monday. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes. Yes, it is a Monday. I think it's all the way around. I felt it today too myself. I guess I should get Instagram going. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Facebook that we're streaming to. Of course, YouTube. Thank you for attending, and our Instagrams and Twitch. And eventually, we will get these uploaded to iHeartRadio, Spotify, and what's the other one?
Apple Podcast.
There we go. There we go. Says the one who has the iPhone. Yeah, there you go.
I was just saying, the Android person coming through for you, Apple friends. You're welcome.
hmm Right? Isn't that funny? But yeah, so we've had. How was your weekend?
The weekend was good. Monday, not so much. The weekend was good. Our little town of less than 1,000 people has a yearly celebration. They call it Streetcar Days. So that was this weekend. Um, my brother-in-law was come down for a few hours. We went to it. They do a parade and all that fun stuff. Um, Big old car show. I mean, like 70 plus cars were in this
Wow.
car show. So yeah, we kind of did that on Saturday, and then my daughter was still on vacation, so it was
Yep.
just the husband and I. We decided to come home and grill supper. We grilled steak for supper Saturday
Mm.
night, and by the time we got done eating, we're like, yeah, we're ready for bed. And I said we had to still run errands then on Sunday. I said, I do my own nails and stuff. I could really just stay home tonight and do my nails since we're going to be gone tomorrow running errands. And that was our night. It was no going, to the street dance, no going to the beer garden, no going, to that. It's like, man, our celebration was, a car show and a parade. So, it was a good time, but the weekend seemed like it really went fast. So,
Yeah. Well, welcome to a taste of what empty nest is like. Yeah,
right.
it's not all that exciting, but
But you know what? We tend to end up and get that because my youngest works, evening shifts. So
mhm.
by the time she gets off in the evening, it's, a little chit chat to see how her day was, and then off to bed we all go. And so it's kind of
Yep.
that way. But
Well, so we have an interesting topic tonight, and the theme is what to do when healing feels boring. It's like, oh, that was a good topic, and I came up
so
with it. No,
you did. But I really want to say, can anyone else? Instagram is telling me they can't hear me. Can
uh
everyone
oh,
hear me? Comment in the chat. Are you hearing me, or are we just talking to talk?
uh oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just on my end. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you're able to hear me, but
Let's
YouTube,
see.
YouTube friends, are you able to hear?
Someone in the YouTube, can you post that you can hear us?
Okay,
Oh, good.
thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, Instagram, if you can't hear, come to YouTube. YouTube can hear us. So,
There you go.
um,
Or
hopefully that
refresh.
resolved it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just saying, hopefully that resolved itself. But anyway, carry
Yep.
on.
Oh, so yes, what to do when healing feels boring, um, and it, it was a good thought because boredom does set in um, because this isn't just a quick fix, right? Healing for me, and I'll speak personally, healing for me is going to be the rest of my life. And it becomes the day in, day out. But I wonder if boredom is your nervous system um, finally starting to feel safe.
And that is the biggest thing. That I find, right? People end up and the body is starting to sense this, it's safe again, and it's back
Mhm.
into, more of like this nervous system rewiring, because that's where the real work is happening, right? It's not just what that little box on the scale is telling us, or what we're there's so many layers involved in this, right? That
Yeah.
when the real work of the nervous system, the mitochondrial, the hormonal rebalance, the
Mhm.
emotional side, right? We talk about journaling all the time too. Um, it happens in quiet. It's not a big old, fireworks and this, sparkle, and what I say the other day on my Instagram, sunshine and rainbows, um,
Mhm.
type of every moment. There's a lot of times that if you're looking at social media, you're only seeing those daily highlight reels. You're not seeing the daily ins and outs of, the checklist of habits, right? The non-negotiables, as we end up when we call it. And a lot of times that does get boring, but those are the most powerful too.
Yes.
Those are the ones that are gonna move that needle, right? You're
Yes.
doing all the right things of eating well, getting sunlight, journaling, breath work, social connection. That is another thing that is big. Whether that's finding a community, that supports you, that you connect with, that you are able to even just check into, but you're doing all those things and it's like, meh, you know, it's just another day, because there's none of that, highlight reel that you're seeing in a lot of other people's aha moments, or,
Mhm.
whatever. So yeah, it can get a little bit boring. But that's also the wellness journey. I mean, that's where the healing reveals itself,
Right.
when you can end up and pick that side apart, and you can work through all of those, you become the better person. It's the deepest part, is working from the inside out.
Right. Well, and let's see. Early in my journey, uh, somebody had made this comment about, "Oh, you're not losing weight because when you lose something, you're trying to find it, right?" I don't want to find the weight I've lost, and so I've released this amount. It's reframing that. So instead of boredom, it's the quiet middle, or maybe the sacred plateau. Um, it's regulation. It's not regression. You know, when you find that quiet middle, um, maybe realize that you're not chasing another breakthrough. You are doing the mundane, the brushing your teeth and drinking your water and getting your sunlight, your sunrise and sunset, and um, you know, walking barefoot in the grass, getting some intentional movement in, going to bed on time. That's healing.
Well, and I think the culture, right? The
Mhm.
Whether it be the diet culture, or the different cultures, without naming names or throwing any under the bus, um, I think that's where they've really kind of, led us to expect these things, or people to feel these things, because they're glorifying it, right? They're adding also the addiction side point, to it, and that can end up and be addiction to elimination also.
Mhm.
It doesn't just have to be the addiction to sugar and carbs and etc., but when someone is looking at it from these breakthroughs that people are having, whether it be a new protocol or a new habit stack or a new diet, or, chasing this next big thing, because culturally we've always been led to that, right? We've
Mhm.
always been dopamine driven into that. And so some of these mundane, aspects of our transformation, we don't always glorify it. We don't make it, and so it gets overlooked. it gets looked at as, a maintenance phase or, something along those lines, where people have problem with that. And I do, I end up and I see it with clients too, because they're constantly seeking that progress versus building that safety and that stability and that sustainability, right? What can you do long term? And I just got off a coaching session earlier where, they were looking for, what can I end up and I do because I want to end up, XYZ. And it's like, well, let's strip things back to the basics. Let's look at, starting with the gut. And that's not fun, right? People, it's not glorified, right? It's not exciting. It's simple. It's basic. And I see that a lot also with people in the nervous system side of things.
Well, yeah, and I think people don't realize that you're not regulated, right? You're not, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, or you are, like you said, chasing that next thing, and oh my goodness, the latest and greatest is I need to fast, or I need to, what was the one that, here recently that you and I kind of, fell off our chairs was the sugar diet, right? Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, put somebody metabolically not sound and put them on a sugar diet. Let's see how bad they get, right? But that was the latest and greatest thing, and it became like all these people were talking about it, and it was like, and I was over here just doing my status quo, doing my thing, going, you know what? Good luck with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where you also end up and get a lot of influential voices out there, a lot of loud voices out there promoting it. And so again, they're chasing it, right? Just like they're chasing anything else that is that dopamine side of things. And when you first start something like that, when you first start a new protocol, sure, there may be, results, but is it sustainable results? Is it something that you're, going to end up and do? Even those that are the loud voices in that space say that it's not, something that they're going to do long term. And so it's like creating a rhythm, creating a pattern, because otherwise you're just a hamster in a wheel.
Right.
And so, sometimes people will also do that when they hit plateaus. They'll seek the next rush, if you will. But that's not necessarily what needs to happen. Sometimes you just need to end up and, stick with what you're doing, even though it may feel boring or it may feel, like something's not working. We don't always see those signs of shifts in our body, but there's things that are happening, under the repetition of what we're doing. And the more we can be consistent with some of these small things, right, it helps to end up and rebuild that system. So stacking the wins long term versus chasing just something that is, a novelty highlight reel.
Well, and you can ask yourself, in fact, put this in the chat. I'm going to ask everyone that's tuning in, what is, tell me your most boring healing win this past week. Go ahead and put it in the chat. It could be something as I drank water, right? I slept 8 hours. I didn't yell. My kids or my husband, I don't know. But what is one boring healing habit that you're proud of? What is that win? And I'm curious to see what responses we get with that. What is yours, Becky?
Mine is the getting back into my movement, my intentional movement. July, I kind of fell off. I'm getting back into a lot of these foundations of the basics, right, that we end up when we talk about. I transitioned some of my foods even. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's nothing, and I get stuck in that too because I know, and I'm speaking more to my Instagram people that are over here watching, because they join the Instagram to end up and see what's going on, right? And
Mhm.
you and I have had this conversation because I'll post things in my stories on Instagram, but I don't necessarily put it like on my page because I feel it's like, man, this is boring, right? We talked about that with the blog too, that we were doing. It's like this is boring. This is just my
Right.
day, right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna end up, wanting to read about I ate, X, Y, and Z, or I went out and did my intentional movement this morning because to me, that's just another thing. Yes, it helps with accountability, um, but it's like it's boring. And
Mhm.
but I would say that's probably my biggest thing this week is I added that back in, and have been able to, as boring as going out and moving in the morning, I have been able to be consistent with it.
Yeah. Mine is um I started to prep my breakfast ahead of time. I did that. I don't know if you've seen my post
I
this
did. Those egg
weekend.
bites look good.
They yeah, it was sausage, literally eggs, sausage, and salt and pepper. Oh, and I put some
Cilantro.
cilantro in with it just to jazz it up a little bit. I made 12, and I did a flash freeze on them, and they're in the freezer, and they're easy to pull out of the freezer and pop them in the microwave or let them sit out and thaw, and you know, yeah. So because what I found was I didn't feel like fixing eggs this morning. Nah, nothing sounds good. Nah. And all of a sudden it's like 10:30, and I didn't eat. And that's not cool for me personally on my healing journey. My blood sugar does a lot better when I eat within 30 minutes to an hour upon waking. And then here's the thing. I know that, right? I know that, but because I hadn't been prepping my breakfast, it was just too easy not to. And that to me, in a way, that's kind of boring, right? Well, I made egg bites, like ooh ah, but I'm not setting myself up to fail anymore. I'm not. That is an important non-negotiable for me, and I wasn't doing it.
Yeah. Well, and that's where again it gets into, you know, are we bored with it or are we just tired of,
Right.
what aspect of it is it that we are, truly getting bored with, I guess. And that goes in any area, right? Is it are we needing to change our food up? Like you said, you added the cilantro.
Hmm.
Um, is it because you're eating the same thing on repetition, or is it because you're, also creating a new routine? Again, August is, leading into school for us. So my routine is going to look a lot different for August. My husband's out mowing. My routine's going to look a lot different from August than what it did in June and July when there was no school, right? So again, sometimes just that recalibrating or recommitting to things
Hmm.
can end up and break through that too. Um, and it doesn't, again, still doesn't have to be fancy,
Right.
right?
Right.
Maybe it's leaning deeper into your consistency.
Hmm.
I know we've got people that are leaning deeper into the circadian because our days are starting to get shorter, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you can also take those rituals and make them feel a little sacred instead of scheduled. Um, Instead of, if you do skincare, don't rush. Enjoy that. Play soft music. Speak affirmations when you're doing that skincare in the mirror. Speak the affirmations in the mirror. Look, my face is, clearer because I do this. Um, you I'm beautiful. I'm not, I don't feel like I have to hide anymore. Um, just whatever it is, speak those sweet affirmations, thank yourself. Thank goodness for this body, and I'm learning to love it. And that's how you can kind of add that beauty to that mundane. Any other suggestions you can come up with?
Well, and that's where the body thrives in that parasympathetic, right?
Yes.
So doing that really creates this stillness, this predictability and rhythm to the body, to where the body, especially in people that wake up with heightened, really heightened cortisol in the morning, this aspect of just kind of slowly creating your day, creating this rhythm, creating this, right? Because a lot of people literally their feet hit the floor and they're like running. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just constant, right? They're constantly on high alert. And sometimes this predictable lifestyle, it, it's not necessarily boredom, right?
Right.
It's just your body is shifting into this phase of healing, and we're not used to that. And so we end up when we mistake that, because we're used to so much of the cortisol driven, stress driven, rush, if you will, that the body doesn't necessarily need more rush. You just end up and need this boring safe space.
Yeah.
And so as you create this rhythm and this routine, and you do the same, right? We talk about stacking these wins all the time. Um, Adding slowly, right? You don't have to end up and create this overwhelm of, oh my gosh, I've got to do,
Yeah.
I've got to do sunrise, I've got to get breakfast, I've got to end up and do,
Mhm.
XYZ. Add it into your morning. It's okay. I always tell my clients, what can you do on your worst day? Because everything in addition to that is a
Mhm.
stacked win.
Yep.
So if you take, say it's your busiest day, maybe that's a Monday, that when people are, going back to work, or their kids are going back to school and they've got a lot going on in the morning. What can you get done in that morning? Bare minimum, right?
Mhm.
To set you up for a successful day. Anything added, on top of, maybe it's going out, for sunrise with your Shilajit or your minerals. Maybe it's 5 minutes extra of grounding that you were able to get in.
Right.
That's a win. It doesn't have to be a lot. Um, but we are so much a all or nothing society, right? We
Yeah.
want to jump both feet in, that we end up and we feel like we're not doing enough.
Well, I mean, you and I were talking, and I'll throw myself under the bus, because I'm going through a stressful change right now, and I think you said something about journaling, and I went, "Oh my goodness, I don't have time to freaking journal!" Like, oh my gosh, and you, and it was like I went through this whole blah, and then you go, "Okay, don't."
But
But it was like, but I
I
recognize the fact that I couldn't. I can't right now with this whole change of everything that's happened with everything going
but
on in my life. And but I've been listening to some different music. I have been, what were you going to say?
but what did I tell you to
What?
do
I don't
as far
remember.
as that emotional regulation and shifting that? I said, right
Mhm.
now you have a commute to and from work. You have a cell phone, verbally journal,
Mhm. You
talk
did.
to
You
your
did.
phone. If
Yeah.
you can't write it out, at
Yeah.
least speak it out,
Yeah.
because healing is all about letting go. We've
Yeah.
got to end up and be able to release this energy. And so
Right.
sometimes when we're in this whole, crisis mode, we end up when we have to just kind of, be able to release that. And I told you, I said, you're
Mhm.
driving home, even if it's, a 10-minute 15-minute drive home, whatever it is, 7 minutes once you get
Once we get moved.
things done,
Yeah.
that's still downtime, right? So you're
Yeah.
leaving work, you're creating this space where it doesn't have to make sense. Put it in
Right.
your notes, put it in,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not an iPhone techie, so I don't know what apps you have. Mine are different than yours, but put it in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to make sense. You don't have to go back and read it, but you're able to end up and get it out, right?
Right.
And so maybe that's your space, your time, as far
Mm-hmm.
as this regulation and shift that the body needs. Because if you're worth it, right, which is what we're telling ourselves in the morning, doing your
Mm-hmm.
skincare routine. I am worth this. I am beautiful. I
Mm-hmm.
am, right? You are worth that time of also doing that in the evening. And sometimes that does create discomfort. I told you that, right? It's not always going to end up and be easy.
Who?
Sometimes as
Who?
we're right,
What?
sometimes it's picking this back. Sometimes it's the layers of the onion are coming apart.
Oh,
Um,
they are. Yep.
that that's the other reason why people get bored too, is because they don't want to address this, and so they suppress this. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to end up and come up, right? If
Right.
you don't fix it, right, nothing's going to change.
Right.
And so you have to be willing to sit with the stillness, be comfortable in the stillness, and be able to work through that.
Right. Healing isn't just what you avoid, it's also what you absorb, right? In the chaos of this change going on in my life, I have allowed the chaos to absorb, and I can feel it. I can feel a difference now. I'm starting to now kind of, well, the fact that I forgot my lunch today didn't help matters any, but that was that's just because I'm not in a routine. But I had packed. I've got my lunch packed for the week. Like I was on it, and then I walked off and forgot it. But whatever. But there's so I'll tell everybody what I did on my way home tonight. I did not talk to my phone, but what I did do is I was blaring some music and I was singing at the top of my lungs. And it's a release. And I am finding too, when I'm out mowing on our property, I've got music playing. It is a therapeutic thing. I actually like to mow, and I am belting out the music. I am singing. My husband, every once in a while, he'll get a glimpse of me and he'll just shake his head because I'm sure I'm singing so off key. And it's I don't care. I don't care because it's so healing to me. I got so much sun this weekend, and didn't wear any protective eyewear because I was on the tractor and mowing and music, and just it became a very sacred, peaceful thing for me. And I think people forget that those small things um, can help with that peace, that um, to help regulate yourself.
Yeah. And it does. I mean, just the singing, the humming, I mean, all of that's going to end up
Hmm.
and activate,
Yep.
the parasympathetic side of
Yeah.
things. And that's also where, we're if we look at it with a broader scope, right?
Yeah.
We're also slowly, I know it doesn't feel like it, but slowly we're, going to start changing seasons too. And just like things around us end up in change, we have to be willing to kind of make some of these subtle changes as we go. And so what we do in and out, right, is it's going to end up and vary, but sometimes people aren't always comfortable with change, and that can be hard at first, but there's also
Mm-hmm.
growth in that change. And that can be the quiet space,
Yeah.
right? It can be the boring phase. It can be, some of these times where your season for changing, right, might be healing internal, and you don't necessarily see it. And so the seed, the seed is set, the seed is
Oh
planted,
yeah. Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
sometimes you may not see that until a few months later when things grow.
Right, right. And I think I am conscious of that. There's some onion layers there that you and I talked about, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Is the fact that I am no longer almost 300 pounds, and I'm still trying to. When I was that, when I weighed that, it was always about perfection on how I look. Now, I didn't look great. I understand that I was 300 pounds ish, um, but my makeup was on point. My hair was on point. Even my clothes, like I spent a lot of money on professional clothes. Um, so I looked professional. And um, my mind still thinks that I'm that. And I've had not just you, but I've had two other girlfriends tell me that you're not 300
Mhm.
pounds anymore. You know, you, I'll send a picture of the outfit I'm wearing, and all three of you will come back going, "Oh, that's pretty, a little big, but it's pretty, right?"
Yep. Well, and that's where being able to work through it, right?
Hmm.
Um, because it is mindset. And it's hard.
It is.
I told
Yes.
you on the phone the other day, I said, it's not going to end up and be easy. And yes, I am, speaking about it, and I understand and I, can sympathize because I understand it's not easy. It's work,
Yes.
but, you have to be able to commit and be, be present and be part of it when the quote sparkle is gone, right? When the new flash
Yes.
is gone, you have to be willing. And it's sometimes that's, also taking a step back in lifestyle, right? It's not the fast pace, it's not the go, 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 go. It's
No.
the stepping back and realizing that, the quiet life isn't always boring either.
Right. Right. Things are happening, right? It doesn't have to be um, the constant chaos, the constant, you know, it's just
Hustle
a
bustle.
rhythm. Yeah. Yeah. That quiet rhythm. That quiet rhythm. That quiet rhythm. Did anybody post what their boring um
Left, right.
so I seen a comment here.
Yeah, I was gonna say food.
Yes, I do see that. But before that, um Jennifer said, I highly value peace and quiet and status quo. And we know Jennifer, and we've watched Jennifer come her healing journey is amazing. Jennifer, I'd love to have you on our podcast sometime. Um, because I remember when I first met you and Becky first met you and where you are today, it's you just huge transformations
Mhm.
and but you've also leaned into it very quietly, very methodically, and you were one of them we met in person at Hack Your Health last year. So you know we and then you said food is definitely where I get bored because I end up eating the same things over and over because we can't think of anything new to make. Isn't that the truth?
It's accurate.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I struggle with when I'm
Hmm.
also talking to people is, they'll ask me, well, what do you eat for like your breakfast? What do you eat for lunch? And, just because what I eat d- isn't the same for others, but it kind of gives them an idea. And I'm like, I tend to be creature of habit. Yes, some days, I end up and I branch out and, make like shrimp ceviche, right? Or, something along those lines. But I'm like, I am very boring.
Mm-hmm.
To go with our tonight's topic, I am very boring. I tend to end up and eat the same thing. Yes, I change it a little bit, um, depending on what's in season as far as my lunch. Like summertime, I'll do salads or something, but wintertime looks a little bit different than that for anyone that did my meat, fat, and ferment challenge. But yeah, it's boring to me, but to them it gives them ideas. So
Yeah,
never underestimate who you are also inspiring along the way.
absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up, Becky. So here's a little bit of homework. Yes, I'm going to give homework to everyone. This week, all you need to do is close your eyes and inhale and say, I am steady. And when you exhale, say, I'm becoming. So inhale, I am steady. Exhale, I'm becoming. That's it. That's your homework. And the status quo, the quiet is a good place to be.
Absolutely. Just remember, you don't need another breakthrough. You just need to carry on and take a deeper breath. Sometimes just relax and enjoy the ride. Have a wonderful Monday, and we will see you next week.